Hello and welcome to episode 49 of the Paper Crane Yarns Knitting Podcast. My name is Ashley and I am a yarn dyer and a yarn store owner. I'm located in Alabama, USA, and I'm coming to you today from my yarn shop, which is called Paper Crane Yarns, of course, and you can find all of my social media profiles like Instagram and Ravelry down below, as well as a link to my website if you are curious. A couple of quick housekeeping things, and then I will show you all of the very many projects that I have to share. One, it has been 3 months, I think, since I actually recorded a podcast. Now, that isn't to say I haven't been here on YouTube, because I did film a video every single day in October. It's my third year of filming Vlogtober, so I have 31. I might have missed a day, but anyway, lots of videos and vlogs talking about my projects, my cozy autumn life in October, just little things like that. I know many of you tuned in, but yes, so it's been 3 months since I actually sat down and did a comprehensive making podcast. But yes, I have lots of videos from this fall to go back on if you missed out on those. So that said, some of the projects that I share today will be things that you may have seen if you did follow along on Vlogtober. So yeah, there might be a little bit of crossover, but I still wanted to make sure to share those since more people watch the podcast than they do the vlogs. And what else? Okay, so I also have a brand new camera. I got this camera during October when I was filming the vlog, so I have shot videos several times now with it, but this is my first time actually doing a podcast with that instead of my phone. So I may have to play around with the settings a little bit. If the video seems a little bit different than my normal podcast, we'll see how it goes. I hope the sound is good and hopefully the lighting is good and everything, but yeah, new camera, so new settings. And okay, last little thing, I was doing a giveaway for the Violetta cardigan pattern by Vert and Rose. I was trying to host a giveaway for it in my previous video, but again, because it took me 3 months to make a new podcast, I've yet to announce the winner, but I did just use a random comment picker. So the stipulation to hopefully win the pattern was to just use the word cottage in some comment on my previous podcast episode, and many people left a comment, so thank you for that. I really enjoyed reading through all of your replies. I was kind of just asking what is your favorite sort of cottagey or cottagecore kind of thing, and there were many great replies. So the winner for that one, I hope that they're watching this video. I will since it's been 3 months, I'll probably go and also heart your reply and just leave a little note only on this person. I'll put it on the screen, but I'm gonna leave a little note that they won the pattern. So if you would, please send me your Ravelry username or your email address, wherever you want that pattern to go. So without further ado, the winner is Brenda Stewart 4384, and the comment, it looks like I only got a partial bit of the comment, but it says, "Thank you for all the sweater inspiration. Your knits are gorgeous. Thank you. I love everything about the cottagecore vibe, knitting, baking, drinking tea, having a kitten curled up in a cozy chair." And unfortunately, I failed to get the whole comment, but I did read it and it was lovely. So yeah, thank you for participating in the little pattern giveaway. And if that's you, I'd be happy to send you a copy of that pattern. Okay, guys. Let's talk about what feels like 100 projects that I have to share. So I've got I have a big stack of knitted finished objects, including the one that I'm wearing. So, and some crochet as well. I'm feeling a bit rusty if you can't tell. It really has been a while. And normally my shop would be open today because today's Thursday, but it's the 27th, which is American Thanksgiving, so everybody's closed, I'm closed, but I figured this would be a great day to come and just shoot a podcast early in the morning, so it's nice and early in the morning. I also have a coffee to drink. I've only had 1 cup this morning a couple hours ago at 5, so maybe once I have a little bit of coffee, I will get myself together a little bit. Oh, it's so good. This is a new coffee, it's so good. and I've got it in this beautiful bunny mug. I got this at the Alabama Fiber Festival from Coosa Valley Clay. It's so beautiful, and she made sure to bring lots of rabbit things to the event so that I would have lots of rabbit things to buy, and I did. So the first finished object that I'll share is what I'm wearing. This is the side bow slipover. I will have the name of the designer on the screen, as I will for all of the patterns, and of course linked below, but she goes by Noelle Knits Designs. And yeah, she's got some lovely stuff. Very size inclusive patterns. This pattern ranges from a 2-fit bust circumference of 28 to 60 inches, I believe. And each size is intended to have just a couple inches of ease. So I think 32 to 64 inches is like the total finished ease options for this garment. So I made the size 3, which is intended to be knitted for somebody with like a 36-inch bust or so. My bust is like fluctuates between 34 to 36 inches depending on the day and the outfit. So this gives me a finished bust circumference of 40 inches. But of course, it is an open slipover, so you know there's lots of wiggle room there, and I'll stand up and show you in just a moment, but of course there's these big side bows, hence the name, so you can kind of tighten it up or loosen it up depending on the garment, or maybe you know how things are fitting you that day. So it's really lovely. Again, very size inclusive pattern. I think I need to go back and kind of correct myself, because in one of my Vlogtober videos, I think I mentioned that in order for this pattern to be like fully considered a size inclusive design according to like the council standards, I think I was saying that this was maybe one size too short, but I actually think that this is perfectly comprehensive for like the size inclusive pattern range, if I remember correctly, which is excellent. So yeah, and so to get gauge for this, I went down to a US 7. If I remember correctly, the pattern calls for US 8, and so I did swatch and determined that I would get gauge with a US 7, so I went down a needle size, and I love the fit, so I think it turned out perfectly. Again, I'll stand up and show you in just a moment, but the yarn that I used is from Cape May Fiber Co. It's the same base. I have these 2 other skeins on the same base because I will be making another project to go with this vest and lots of things, but it's gonna look really cute with this vest. So this is Vanessa's non-superwash organic Aran. It's 100% fine organic merino wool, 219 yards to 100 grams, and it's a 4-ply, and it's a very plump non-superwash wool. It's beautiful. So a couple of months ago, Vanessa reached out and asked, she was very, very sweet, and she said she liked all my projects and just kind of my aesthetic, I think. So she told me she was coming out with a Coraline collection and asked if I would like to make anything out of her yarn. And so, and I've shared this story during the vlogs, but in case you missed that, yeah, for transparency, she did gift me the yarn for this project and this project, but I absolutely love it. And she let me pick the colors. So she was doing this Coraline collection, and she sent me the pictures for all of the colorways she was coming out with, and they were all so beautiful. And so I was trying to pick one, and I didn't want to ask for a lot of yarn. That's very generous that she wanted to give me any amount of yarn. So I found a couple of projects that were smaller, that wouldn't require as much yarn, so like the slipover and a collar, which I'll be turning these into very soon. And I sent her those ideas, and she was very sweet, and she was like, "Can I send you yarn for both?" I was like, "Psh, of course, thank you. That's amazing." So yeah, she did. And so I, of course, got started on the slipover right away, and I'll be making this collar as soon as I finish up 1 or 2 of my other smaller projects. So yeah, but I'm glad that I had these in the skein to show you. So this is the Secret Door colorway. So of course it's supposed to be reminiscent of the secret door that Coraline travels through to get to like Other Mother and all of that. And then this green, this absolutely beautiful emerald green with lots of different very subtle tonal variegation, like darker patches and lighter patches, just gorgeous. It's called Seeing Stone. This is very pretty, but let me stand up and show you the slipover. So yeah, this pattern was such a fun pattern to make. It's actually quite easy. You just kind of have to stick with it because of course you're knitting the pieces flat since it's not in the round, it's open on the sides. I love purling, but there's a lot of purling. So that is a big element of the pattern. But then of course there's lots of double knitting, and that was the part that I enjoyed because it was like nice and I could do it while doing other things without a lot of thought, but it felt like it took forever because of course you're doing the double knitting attached, you're attaching it as you go along the armhole edge here, but then you've got these very long bows that are also double knitting. Now you don't have to do double knitting, you could just do a little bit of purling or something like that, but this is nice and plump and it gives a lot of structure to the bow so that they stay, you know, so that they stay nice and bow shaped. So it's definitely worth the effort to make the double knitted bows. So that's my first finished object. I'll go ahead and show the other one that I finished during Vlogtober. This is the Odyssey shawl by Joji Locatelli. I have been intending to make this pattern with these 3 yarns for like 2 years now, I think. And they've just been sitting in my stash and I just never made time for it because I'm more of a garment knitter. But finally I just decided that I really wanted to work with these yarns, so I went ahead and did it. These are Long Dog yarns. It was from Brandy's Lord of the Rings collection a couple years ago. So I bought 3 skeins on the Superwash Merino DK and they were beautifully packaged. They had like this special ball band, it just beautiful. So it was almost nice having them in my stash, but much better now as the finished object. So this is a gorgeous shawl. It was just 3 skeins of the Merino DK, and I used the majority of all 3 skeins. There weren't very many leftovers, which was great. So the colors, and I'll have this on my Ravelry page, but the green is Legolas, the best character. This one in the middle, the variegated, is Deep Breath Before the Plunge. And then the last one is The Light of Arendelle, and it's like a silvery white, which is lovely. So I kind of did this in like a little bit of a fade. I think the effect turned out pretty well. I wasn't sure how it would go using 2 tonals to kind of bookend the middle section where there's, you know, the variegation. It's these exact same hues, but you know, your eye says that it's mostly the silvery white color, and it kind of is, but I think that the little fade I did worked out perfectly. So this was a very easy pattern, and it's a free pattern, by the way. Thank you, Joji, she's wonderful. But it has this very simple lace pattern, and my favorite part is the little picot bind off at the end that gives all of these little peaks that are very pretty, and I just thought it was perfect for like Lord of the Rings vibes, you know, this whole project. So there's, of course, several beautiful ways you could style it. This one is really nice and long and then kind of tapers at the end, so it has a very long wingspan. So you could just drape it, you know, over your shoulders and wear it like this. You could do this casually, but I'm picturing this with like a pretty dress, if I can get it to untuck. But you know, I realized I may have made a mistake in picking these colors. Not that I regret it, but this would be such a pretty shawl design to wear if you were a guest at a wedding, but you can never wear this as a guest at a wedding because it's primarily white. So, you know, if I ever do go to another wedding, I might make another one in colors to match because I think that this would just be the perfect thing. It's got, I just think it's such a pretty wrap. And of course, that's just one way to wear it, but with a little bit of lace detail and then where it comes down in the front, I just think that it would be so pretty with a formal dress, like as a wedding guest. Yeah. And then you could wear it like Joji does in her sample photos. She has it draped across the front, which would be another beautiful way to wear it. Again, this is just the perfect length where it's long enough that you can really kind of throw those ends over and get it to just sit nicely. Once you play with it for a minute, right? Yeah, something like that. And it's heavy enough that it kind of holds itself up. But I think I say that and I stand up and it falls off, but obviously I'm just throwing it over my shoulders here. I feel very fancy. And then you could wrap it around your neck in like a traditional shawl format because again, it's such a great size. This is my favorite shawl I've ever made, I think. So yeah. So yeah, there are definitely several ways you could wear it, and I really am very happy with that project. I knew that I would love it because ever since I started knitting, that was one of the first patterns I ever came across that I thought, one of these days I'm gonna make that, hence why I bought the yarn for it a couple years ago. But one of my good friends, Cheryl, she's a regular here at my shop, she had purchased 3 skeins of DK yarn at a shop that is no longer open, but she brought them to me and was like, I got these on sale, but what do I make with them? And I said, oh, you should definitely make this pattern. And she made it like right away, and then she brought it in and showed me, and it was so stunning in person. She did hers in like grays and maroon kind of burgundies, very pretty. So I knew that I wanted mine, and so I'm so glad I finally did it. Again, very easy pattern, highly recommend. Okay, let's talk about 2 knits for my daughter, and they're both pink. Pink is her favorite color, as is mine, pink and green, so it's always fun to work on stuff for her because it means that I'm working with pink. I have 2 things here. I've got a little sweater and a pair of socks. I'll show you guys the socks first because what's funny is the first one, which is like nice and blocked and really cute, I think I made this sock a year ago. Yeah, I made it like a year ago because I was just determined that she needed a new pair of socks because the other socks I knitted her were like newborn size, and she's 3, so that obviously didn't last long. But I made the one, and then the project bag just sat there for like a year, and so finally I decided I should make that. So I haven't washed it, so it's not quite the same, like, you know, looks a little floppy, but she's gonna wear them a bunch now, so it doesn't really matter. I'll wash them when they need to be washed, but yeah, just cute little quick socks. I made these from a pattern out of Summerlee's book, The Sock Project. It's just the little color block rib sock. Can't remember what it's called, but it's the color block one, and I used similar colors. But these are some yarns from Knit Picks that I had. I've used these yarns in so many projects now. And actually, I have made myself a pair of socks using all of these colors as like the contrasts with the main skein. So she and I kind of have some matching socks, which is really cute. But yeah, so these are Knit Pick Stroll, and then this is my hand-dyed yarn in my Moon River colorway. I just love the pink and then the like sludgy yellow kind of green. So yeah, she's got a cute little pair of socks. And then the star of the little show for her stuff. I just finally wove in the ends this morning. But this is Lanita by Claudia Quintanilla, and it's so pretty. It's so pretty. So I know I've mentioned before, but she does ballet and tap now. And in her age category, all of the little girls wear like ballet pink like this. And so I thought when it gets chilly and she's going to and from dance, she needs a little pullover to wear. I was planning on making her a wrap cardigan, but I decided to make this pattern instead because I just really fell in love with it. I loved the little scallop detail on the sleeves and on the neck, and I thought that looked pretty. I thought that seemed like a pretty good idea for her little ballet outfit. So yeah, here's her little Lanita. This is from Claudia's book, Making Memories, if you're looking for the pattern. I don't know if you can get the pattern as a standalone PDF, but it's in the book. It has a very simple little eyelet yoke, so very easy detail, but very pretty. Obviously the star of the show is the little scalloped lacy trims. The construction for this was not quite as straightforward as some similar, circular yoke patterns would be. So this is a top-down sweater, but you do the fun little scallop part here at the top, and because this is fingering and mohair held double, I'm sure you can see that little halo. When you're doing the scallop part, you just do the fingering weight, the sock yarn, held single, so that's why the color is just slightly different for those little trims. And then after you do the little lace scallop pattern, you pick up your mohair and proceed with that. And so then it was just, after doing that little interesting part for the neckline, then you go ahead and work the yoke, and the rest of the body is pretty straightforward. But then the sleeves, these are actually grafted on, and they are knitted from the cuff up. So you cast on with the little scallop. It's just the way that you construct this stitch pattern. You have to do it this way because, yeah, it's just part of making the little scallop. So you cast it on from there, and then once you get that, I think you join in the round, you pick up your mohair, you knit the sleeve to length, and then you use a Kitchener stitch to graft it onto the body. When I first did it, the first sleeve that I grafted on, I didn't notice until I was done that I was grafting it too tight, so it had like a solid line where I had grafted it on, and I kept telling myself like, it's fine, it doesn't matter. Of course, it wasn't fine, and it totally mattered. It bothered me a lot. It just didn't look great, you know. It was like when she put it on, you couldn't really see it because the fabric kind of bunches over itself there, but I just knew, it was gonna bother me. So I decided, after I made the second sleeve, I was like, I'll give myself a break. I won't worry about pulling out the grafting right now. I will just go ahead and make the second sleeve and graft it on. And I did so, and it looked, of course, much nicer because I was more aware of my tension with the Kitchener stitch. And so I got it on, and it looked pretty seamless. So then I decided, okay, I need to rip out the first one and redo it, and so I did. I'm glad I did, because it's very pretty now. And the yarns that I used, this is kind of like a little matching sweater that Ara has with me in a way, because I used some leftover skeins from the Luca pullover that I made for myself earlier this year. It was like this pink combination and like a poppy red chevron stripe. And when I made that, I had lots of the yarn left over, so I had more than enough to make this little sweater for her. And this did use the majority of each skein, which is nice. So it's one strand of Pearl Soho linen quill. Can't think of the colorway, but I'm sure it's listed in my project page for my Luca, but it's just a light pink. And then the mohair is my Huga colorway, and so it's my hand-dyed yarn. So, yep, just a little tiny bit of tonal variegation. The two colors are pretty similar, so I just think it turned out beautifully. And you know what's funny? I finished this several weeks ago, blocked it and everything. I just hadn't woven in the ends because we had a couple of really cold days, and then the temperature shot way back up to like 80s, the 80-degree Fahrenheit range. So I was like, well, why bother, you know? And 2 weekends ago at the Alabama Fiber Festival, I had this with me because I brought it thinking I'll weave in the ends or something while I'm here and I've got downtime. And of course, I failed to do that. But on the last day of the festival, my husband brought my daughter so that she could kind of see it and, you know, get to see me at work and see the alpacas and everything. So she saw this sitting in my bag under my little checkout table, and she pulled it out and she was showing everybody who was coming by, like, look at the sweater that my mom made for me. But she still needs to weave in the ends. And it was so funny, like she was calling me out, but it did have all the little ends hanging off. But it was just really funny that my 3-year-old daughter was kind of scolding me for not yet having woven in the ends. So I did that this morning before coming. So now that it's cold again, she'll get to wear this. So there's her little cute pink outfit for this fall and winter. I just love the way that mohair knits look when they're all folded up, or just any knits, but when they're in a little folded stack. And you can see that subtle little, like all the fuzz. It's just so pretty. So yeah, I feel like a proud mom that I made this for her. Okay, I'll quickly show the socks that I made for myself these past few months that are finished. So I did look back on my previous video briefly to see what I had shared and what I hadn't yet shared. And so I did share that I was making these. I had one done and I had started the second one, but I have fully finished these now, a while back now. Haven't yet worn them because I was waiting to show them and I wanted it to be nice and cold outside, of course, but I have a matching sweater for these. This is Long Dog yarn. Ribbon Candy is the main color, and then the contrast is my California Poppy colorway. But they're really fun, so they're like subtly pink with lots of speckles. And then I do the fun little contrast stripe in the cuff. I love to do this with my socks, and the trick is when you go to do this, because as you can see, The stripe is pretty seamless. Now, normally if you're doing ribbing and you add in a secondary color, you'll get a whole row that kind of looks like pearl bumps. But the trick is when you introduce the next color, your first round, you just knit all the stitches. Even though it's in ribbing, you won't notice, but it prevents it from having that weird little bumpy line. So yeah, I do that every time I introduce either the contrast or the main color. Just do a whole round of knitted stitches and then proceed with your rib pattern. So yeah, I love doing that in my socks now, the little contrast stripe. I think it's really cute. And yeah, they're soft, they're really cozy, and I'm excited to wear these. And then I have one more pair of socks, and these are like some of my favorite things that I've made ever. So this is my Cafe No Face collection colorway, and I've talked at length over on Instagram and on my vlogs about the concept for this colorway, but just briefly, when I started the Cafe No Face collection idea, I guess my idea was that post Spirited Away, the movie, No Face, you know, in the end he stays with Zeniba in her little village and he's gonna be her helper. So my idea is that he decides to, you know, really become like a good person and stop all the antics like at the bathhouse. And he goes on to open a little coffee shop in Zeniba's village where all of the different characters kind of visit occasionally and get a cozy beverage and just spend time with him. So I told this idea to my husband and I asked him to make me some illustrations of the characters based on that. So he's done a No Face one, and so the idea is that we're working together. He's done 2 for me now. He'll be doing another one soon, and I'm gonna just continue to like dye yarns based off of these ideas. But I told him that I would imagine No Face would be drinking something very rich, like an espresso with a nice crema and just nice and like bitter but aromatic and something very rich, because that's, you know, that's No Face's taste. So yeah, I made a colorway collection based off of that whole idea that I came up with in my head. So this is the sock set, the mega sock set. This one came with the main skein and 2 minis. So the minis are my biscotti colorway and iced cappuccino. And I used a Summerlee Designs, one of the lace cuffs that she included in the 2025 Colorwork Cuff Club set. This pattern right here is actually why I bought the club or subscribed to it for the year. I just wanted her little cable motif for this because I thought it kind of looked like steam rising off of a latte or something. And so I decided to use that for my cuff, for my coffee socks, basically. So these are nice and ready to go, and I will be wearing these. If I make socks out of my sock collections or like my sock sets, I tend to not wear them because I want them to stay nice for when I go to shows, but I really want to wear these, so I'm just gonna wear these. And I figured because they're dark, you know, if I wear them a bunch but then I want them as a sample, I can wash them and you won't even really tell because yeah, they're dark. But I love all the different, I just love all the different like coffee colors in here. There's some mauves and some espresso browns, and then I did some black variegation to kind of represent, you know, the way that No Face looks and all of that. So yeah, love these a lot. And if you're curious about how I knit my socks, I do 56 stitches for all my socks on a US 1, and I typically use a 9-inch circular needle. So 2.25 millimeter and 56 stitches, and that gives me a perfect fitting sock. So now I have 3 finished sweaters to share, and I'm really excited about these, especially this one. I love this so much. And as you can see, it is mostly crocheted, and there is some knitting as well. So this is the Jethro pattern by Tanis Fiber Arts, Tanis Lavallee, I believe. It is such a stunning design, and I've been wanting to make it since it first came out, but I just haven't done a lot of crocheting in the past couple of years. When I first started with Fiber Arts, I started with crochet, but I very quickly kind of moved on to knitting. Like I didn't stick with learning crochet for very long before I taught myself how to knit, and so since then I just haven't done a lot of crocheting, or I hadn't for the past couple of years, but I've really been focusing a lot more attention on it recently because as a yarn store owner and like a yarn dyer, I want to make sure that I'm staying, you know, familiarized and advancing on my knowledge of crochet so that when people come into the shop, I can better assist them with their crochet projects because I have a lot of customers who are primarily crocheters. So yeah, I'm trying to just maintain my skill and improve on it. Plus I would like to have crocheted samples of my colorways as well. So I've been doing a lot more crochet recently and it's been really fun to do it again. But yeah, this is like my favorite crochet thing I've ever made and I'm so happy with it. But of course there is knitting in this pattern as well. So that's kind of the fun thing about Tanis Fiber Arts, her granny square patterns. She has several now, but they all incorporate some knitting and some crochet. So the main body is all crocheted granny squares and then a continuous join as you go kind of granny stitch method to join all of the squares. But then the button bands and the sleeves and the hem are all knitted. So you go through, after you join all of the squares to make the panels for the body of your cardigan, you go through and you pick up stitches right off of the little crochet stitch. Hopefully that's focusing. It's hard to get the new camera to focus. Anyway, you just pick up stitches right off of those little double stitches and it works seamlessly. It's beautiful. So you just pick up all the stitches you need and you go from there. I do have notes on my project page. I can't remember exactly how I did some of my stitch counts for my knitted bits. I know it's a little different than in the pattern because mine is just kind of modified all around. So I believe I have notes on my project page, but I actually made this in like 8 or 9 days a couple months ago. So I don't remember everything, but a couple things I do remember. So, okay, first the yarn, because I know some people might be curious. I took this with me to Alabama Fiber Festival and I hung it up as a sample and I think this drew more people into the booth than most of the things that I had to show because I had it right on the outside and I don't know about you guys, but I love this color palette. I think it's really fun and different, but I love pairing like the soft pink with like these jewel tones. I think it's so fun. I have a whole favorites collection bundle of colors that I do that's very similar to this and I just think they work so beautifully together. But these yarns they all came from Stash. Some are my hand-dyed yarns, some are just random stuff that I had in Stash that I paired together because they were the right weight and I just thought it'd be fun. When I went to start this project one day, I kind of did it on a whim because my friend Hope had just finished her Jethro, and I wanted it so badly. So I immediately went to the back room to my personal yarn stash and I just started pulling colors and it took like no time at all. I laid them all out and I was like, that's it, I'm getting started. And again, I finished this in like 9 days. I was committed. It was so much fun to make. I'm tempted to make another one, but I don't need another one. If I make another one, it'll probably be a gift. So yeah, so the main color, this is my sugared pink colorway, so that is my hand-dyed yarn. I had some of this in my stash because I was trying out a new base. This is like a 2-ply merino silk base. And so yeah, I was just trying it out, but it's my sugared pink colorway, so it's this lighter pink. And it has some speckles of this blushy color in it. And then this color here, this little variegated color is my You've Yeed Your Last Haul partner. That was my Nash Yarn Fest colorway. I had a skein of it in my stash on my non-superwash DK, so I used that. This purple and this red were both Ella Ray. I'm sorry, I don't like to cover my mouth in case you rely on reading lips, but this camera will not focus on what I'm trying to show you if it can see my face. So I'm trying to, maybe I can block my eyes. Hopefully you can turn on captions if you're having a hard time understanding. I'll have to work on figuring that out. But anyway, so the purple and the red are Ella Ray. And these are more of like a worsted. This is a DK weight pattern, but it kind of doesn't matter. You just need to make sure that you're getting like the size square that you need when you're crocheting these. This is my caramel latte colorway on my superwash merino DK. Again, I just happen to have a skein in my stash, or I might have taken one off the shelf, I don't remember. And then this green was something from Goosey Fibers. I can't remember what it was called, but I used it in my Mothman cowl and I had a bunch left over. So yeah. And then these buttons I carry in my shop. These are Matchy Matchy Sewing Club, but I thought that this light green would look really fun with this palette of pinks and greens and all of that. So I would love to throw this on to show you guys. Let me unbutton it and I guess I'll talk to you about the sizing. So I did make size 3. I had a hard time deciding what size I wanted to make. As she says in the pattern, you know, the construction of the squares kind of changes like the frequency with which you can have sizing. So it's kind of like the heirloom quilt cardigan that I made by Katrin Seeberger. When you're combining all of the squares, it kind of changes how much nuance you have control over with sizing. So it's like you kind of have to make big jumps in between sizes. So I decided to go with the size 3, but I did have to modify it. So originally I did make it to the right length. I believe mine is size 3, it's 5-inch granny squares. And then you do so many, you know, rows, and I made mine to the right length, but it was far too long on me. So what I ended up doing was taking out an entire row, like the entire bottom row of granny squares, and that got me the perfect length. And I really like how oversized this is. If I was to make it again, if I was doing it for myself, I might make the size 2 just to have one that's a bit smaller, but I am really happy with the sizing on this, and the color and just everything. This is such a good piece. And I mean, obviously that's the pattern, but I'm just so happy with the palettes that I put together, and it just turned out so beautifully. And I love that there's room to wear this even over my vest. I just can't get over how much I love this. I am so happy with it. You have got to make one of these. Oh, I love it so much. It's cold enough. I could wear both these things, but I do have some other stuff to share with you too. So yeah, that's my Jethro, and I have been just dying to share this with you guys. I've been wanting to record a podcast for months just to share this project because I love it that much. I want everything in this color palette. I just want to wear this all the time, and it's so soft because it's all wool, and so it has beautiful drape. So even though it's oversized, again, it just flows so beautifully. That silk content in the main color really helps with that too, I think. It's just lovely. The sleeves are so soft because it's that merino silk, and I really worked on getting the circumference that I liked. Of course, there's only so much you can do because you are just picking up off of the edges of the double crochet stitches, but I made sure that I was really happy with that. And as you can see, it's really short. It's very wee, like the size of my forearm basically, but I didn't have to knit them very long since I did pick a cardigan size that was a little bit oversized because it really becomes like a pretty significant drop shoulder. So yeah, that part, you know, the knitting part was like, took no time at all. And I really loved the continuous join as you go crochet method. I had never done this technique before, and that was like the most fun part of the project because at that point you kind of have all the squares and you're just laying them out and then working through them to join them together, and it was just really fun. So yes, very happy with this stunning project. Okay, I have 2 more finished sweaters to show you guys. 2 more finished sweaters. This is my Olga sweater. This is a PetiteKnit pattern. I did finish this, I think, right at the beginning of November, so I don't believe I finished this. Oh, let me change my battery before it dies on me. Okay, I changed out my battery, and while I was at it, I went ahead and changed into my next sweater. I hope I didn't change the camera angle too much. I tried to keep the camera really still when I was swapping out the battery, but I ended up having to pick the whole thing up to change it out. So anyway, this is my Olga sweater by PetiteKnit, and I was working on this in October, but I don't think I finished it until November 1st, or like maybe the 31st of October, something like that. So I shared it in my last vlog, but yeah, that's it. And it's so cozy, so I'm very excited that I made this and now I get to wear it now that it's nice and cold. But yeah, it's so cute. I love the shape of it. I believe I made the size small, so and I made mine shorter, I think, than what the pattern called for. It feels feels like it's on backwards, but no, the ends are in the back, so it's not. But yeah, it's obviously a cute drop shoulder cardigan. I have a cardigan. It's a drop shoulder pullover. You've probably seen this a bunch of times. I feel like everybody was making it this past year. I was tempted by it when the pattern first came out, but I had so many other things going on. But the more that I saw them and the more that I saw this fit, I just thought it was so cute. So I wanted to make one. Plus I carry this yarn in my shop. This is Sadness Garn Pure Gint. And so I used like a golden brown color and then one of the pinks, like a plummy pink, dusty pink kind of color. But it's so pretty. So I love that shoulder detail where the stripe is in this other direction and then it's picked up along there. I just think that's gorgeous. That's one of the selling points for me on this sweater. I love the stripe details in particular. I mean, there are a million drop shoulder striped patterns out there, but I really like this one because I like the way that the pattern is written to have the striping sequence continue into the sleeve and in the hem. I just really love that kind of continuity. Normally it's like color blocked, you know, and I just really like that. I mean, you could do that if you wanted to with this pattern, but I think it's beautifully written as is. And yeah, I did shorten mine because I have, I wanted it to kind of stop at my narrowest point because I thought like the little oversized kind of balloon nature of this would look better on my body shape if it sat right at the top of my hips where, you know, that's sort of like my widest point. So yeah, I'm really happy with the fit and it's very warm and cozy and I love this yarn. I do have some sweater quantities of Pure Gint in my shop, so you could find those on my website or here in person, but I may have had to go down a needle size for this. If I did, it's probably on my Ravelry page, but I don't remember. You know what? I think I did because I cast it on with the recommended needle size and I realized my gauge was too big. So I didn't rip it out because it was just the upper back portion and I hadn't done very much of it at that point. So I just swapped needle sizes. I went down a size and I found that that was a much closer gauge for me, but I wasn't worried about ripping that out because it was just that top portion and the fabric looked nice and this kind of wool kind of fills itself out. So I wasn't really worried about it looking stark. So yeah, it's great and it's cozy and I love these colors so much and I feel like myself in these colors and yeah, I love it. I love it. It makes me think of my childhood a little bit. Okay, I have another sweater. This is my last finished knitted thing, I hope. There's probably other stuff that I've finished and I've just forgotten, but this one I love so much and I've worn this a bunch of times and it probably needs to be washed. I say a bunch of times. It's not been that cold, but I've worn it as many cold days as we've had, basically. This is my Saskie pullover. This is a pattern by Saskie&Co, formerly the Petite Knitter, and it's beautiful. So I was working on this during my last podcast, so it's been a while that it was on my needles. I did finish it a long time ago, but it's been a while since I've shared about it. I believe the last time I just had the yoke, or I was still working on the yoke. Yeah, I think I was still working on the yoke, but it's gorgeous and it is lightweight. It's a little bit cropped. It has beautiful little contrast details in the bind off. I really, really love the yoke so much. I love this little triangular, like the points around the ribbing, around the collar. I think that is such a pretty element. And of course they're rabbits, so I'm sorry, you're gonna hear the story again. I've said this a bunch of times. I have a pet rabbit named Junimo, and I wanted to knit this so that I could kind of like think about my bunny. I love him so much. And so this was kind of, I'm calling this my Junimo pullover because I knitted it for him basically. But it's so pretty. So we've got little rabbits and clouds and moons and it's just gorgeous. This was one of the cheapest sweaters I've ever made. I just used a cone, like I used almost exactly one full cone of Harrisville Designs Shetland and it was the blue load-in colorway. And I think the cone was like $35 or so, something like that, $35 or $40. But I think the whole project altogether was like $42 for it was like a 50-gram skein, I think, of the white, same yarn, but it was just white. And then the cone was pretty inexpensive. And for my size, I pretty much just used that. So this sweater came out to be about $40, which is pretty good for a nice woolly sweater. I'll swap into it. I do that all the time, right? I love this sweater so much. I love the way it fits. I love the look of it. I just love this highly contrasted graphic yoke. It's so beautiful. And again, the fit on this is so lovely. So I'll stand up and show you. So as you can see, it kind of has that little like flare effect here. You could do some waist shaping. I just knitted mine straight. And I love the fact that there's not a deep yoke. So even though it has that flare and the body is nice and, you know, a little bit oversized, the top portion is still very fitted in relation to the body. And so I just think that's such a beautiful shaping technique and a great dynamic between the yoke and the body. And even the width of the sleeves, I normally like a pretty tight cuff, but I think that this is really cute. It's not, I just think it adds to the overall effect. Like, I think this has to be one of her most effective patterns. It's just beautiful. I love it so much. I love it so much. And it's fingering weight. It is a non-superwash wool, so it's still nice and warm. And it's still, yeah, it traps in the air and it's quite warm despite the fact that it does that little bit of like the tinting here. I still feel quite warm in it, but it's very, very lightweight, especially compared to the Olga sweater. That one's pretty heavy despite the fact that it's like the same length. But this one is very nice and lightweight and comfortable and warm and just beautiful. And yeah, this is one of the ones that I would be tempted to make again just because I loved knitting the yoke pattern so much. I love color work, especially. I've said this a million times, I'll say it again. I love knitting with non-superwash, like 2-ply, fingering weight wool. I just think it's so lovely, and especially doing color work. It's just wonderful. So yes, love this pattern so much, you guys. Okay, let me show you one sewn finished object, and then we'll talk about all of my works in progress. This is a very long video. I knew it would be. I knew it would be. You knew it would be too. You did. Okay, so I have a sewn finished object, and at this point I made this a while back, and I have been using it almost every single day for months, and it's holding up pretty well compared to that, but it's not as crisp and nice as when I first sewed it, but yeah, it's still pretty nice. This is the Swim Along Crossbody bag, and now I can't think of the name of the designer. I know her name. I'll make sure to put it on the screen, but she also has like a bird bag pattern. But anyway, I had seen this a bunch of times on Instagram, but I didn't really pay too much attention to it for whatever reason. But then Ariel of Airy Knits, she sewed one, and when I saw hers, I swear I love everything she makes. I'm very influenced by what she makes. And when I saw her version, I was like, okay, yeah, I am making that right away. So I did. I made it right away once all the little pieces got in. So yeah, this is my version. I haven't named him, but he's a little cutie. So it's a quilted bag. It's very functional. So there's finishing techniques in the sewing pattern to avoid having, like, so you could finish with fabric over these, but I just serged mine. And again, I've used this every day and I've had no issues with the zipper, no fraying. Everything inside mine is just serged. So I didn't do the little fabric thing, but you don't have to have a serger for this pattern. She does give you a technique for finishing those raw edges on the inside. But yeah, again, I just serged mine and it's held up really well. So I'm very happy with that. I mean, just all in all, this whole bag has held up super well. So all of the techniques that you use, the time and like effort that goes into making this, very well worth it. But I love my color palette, the orange and poppy red and sagey green, and then a little bit of a hint of like a peachy cream right there. I made little half square triangles for the belly of the fish. So you could just do this in a solid fabric, or you could piece it in whatever way you want. I thought it'd be fun to do some half square triangles, so I did that. And then there's some light quilting all along the whole bag. The whole bag is quilted. So I did some highly contrast white quilt stitches on the poppy red fabric because I thought that'd be like a pretty visual interest. Let me close it. My zipper's fun too. Yeah, so there's lots of quilting stitches. I did them all in white. For the half square triangles, I just kind of went in and out of the little diamonds or the triangles. And I did some vertical stitching or some horizontal, depending on how you look at it, some horizontal stitching here to coordinate with these little mini stripes. And then this was a Merchant & Mills, like a really beautiful garment fabric that I used to make myself a dress. And I just had some scraps, so I used that for all the little contrasting bits. And then there is a little bit of batting like in the tail, so it keeps it nice and like, I don't know, and in the little fin. Yeah, it's just wonderful. Have a fun little buckle. Now the only thing about this that I did not do right was the last part, the last bit of instructions for making the little adjustable strap. I accidentally made it to where, yeah, you can slide this around, but that's all you can do. You can't adjust my straps. So unfortunately, I did make a mistake there. But yeah, so there's a little buckle and you just kind of wear it like this. It's really cute. A lot of the times I just throw it over my shoulder because usually, like unless I'm going out somewhere, which isn't very often, I just throw it over my shoulder to briefly carry it. But yeah, the idea is that you kind of just wear it across your body like this. And it's a nice big size. Oh, got my strap twisted. But yeah, so I have lots of buckles and zippers to eventually, when I have time, make some more. I want to make some as gifts, and I want to make some more for myself with different colors. Not that I care that this doesn't coordinate with all of my outfits, because it coordinates so well, like in and of itself. I'll really wear this with anything, but I would like to have some more color options, you know, depending on what I'm wearing. I can bring a different fish with me, but first I would really like to make some for some friends and family as gifts, but they're really not that hard. I think I made this in like 2 days, and that included everything, like cutting all the fabric, quilting, piecing it. And that was while I was operating my shop. So I was like here working, and so I was busy too. So in about 2 days, I think I was able to make this. So if I go on a spree of making a bunch, I'll probably get a little bit quicker. But yeah, that's my beautiful little fishy guy. Blue rabbit mug, blue rabbit sweater. I love a theme. Okay, one finished cross stitch piece. One finished cross stitch piece. I did just order a frame for this, finally. I couldn't decide because I couldn't find exactly what I wanted, so I kind of had to settle, but I do have a frame coming for this, so I'll frame this as soon as it gets here. But I finished this, I think earlier this month. It's Winter Waddleland by the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery, and it's a very cute pattern. It came out like this time last year, I think. I got started right away, and then I just kind of got like 30 to 40% of the way done. I didn't touch it for a while. And so then I just kind of quickly finished it. I just think it's so cute. It's a little ice skating school. So you've got the big macaroni penguin guy and then all the little babies, and they're all learning how to ice skate, except for this one. This one is me because last time I went ice skating, I got severely injured, so never again. So I would be off of the ice like that little guy. But yeah, Winter Waddleland. It's so cute. I also did their Arctic Animal Stitch Along last year. Was it last year? I think we finished it this year. So I'm gonna frame these side by side, and it's gonna be really cute. Okay, guys, let's finally get into some works in progress, because again, there are several. I'm gonna start with one that I did share about last time. So this is a continuation of this little saga. I have this in a Fat Squirrel Fibers bag. This is my book club cardigan. Another, of course, very popular pattern. And I'm making mine out of Brooklyn Tweed Brooklyn Tweed Tones. It's a worsted weight wool. It's like woolen spun, absolutely beautiful. This is the Acer Overtone colorway. Of course, they are no longer manufacturing yarn, so you may or may not be able to find this. But it's a beautiful wool, one of my favorites. And so I'm making a book club cardigan out of it, and I have made a lot of progress since I last shared it. It's kind of like I go through phases where I'll only work on this, and so I'll get a bunch of progress, and then I won't work on it, and then it just sits. But I swear, it's like every time I think I'm getting close, I realize just how much more there is to go, because I have to do the pockets, I've got to do the double knitted band, the sleeves. So once I finish this ball of yarn on the body, I might go ahead and just do another element of it, just to kind of get that little sense of like, I've completed something on this project. The only options would really be to make the sleeves, I think. So I might go ahead and make one or both of the sleeves. I think that would make me feel like this project was really moving along. And it really is. It sits about here right now on me, and I don't want it too much longer. But yeah, it's gorgeous, right? Like this is such a pretty design with all of the cables and the moss stitch. It's just so beautiful, and this really fun poppy red color I think is going to look really fun in my wardrobe, and pretty unique amongst all of my other pieces. Definitely a show-stopping piece, this bright red with all this beautiful texture. So I'm really, really happy with this. I think I pointed this out last time, but I know several people modified the pattern to avoid this little leg of the cable coming across over here, but it doesn't bother me at all. So sorry if that bothers you, but I did not change the pattern. I just left that little guy in. I don't mind. It's gonna be underneath my hair anyway, so you know, to each their own. But I just think it's so stunning. All of the texture. It's just beautiful. I did feel like I was using up a lot of yarn, and I was really worried about running out since this yarn is not being manufactured anymore. So I did find somebody online who had some, and so I bought 6 more skeins, which these are 50-gram skeins, so that's really just like 300 grams of yarn. But yeah, so between that and what I already have, it should be plenty. But again, I was really worried about running out, because this is one of those kinds of things where it's like you can't get more of it once it's all gone. So yeah, I kind of panic ordered a little early, and I figured if I have any left over, I love this color and this yarn, I can easily make some accessories. But yeah, so there we go. Look at all that beautiful stitch texture and everything. I just cannot wait to wear this. I was hoping to get it done this cold season, but I'm not sure it's gonna happen. But there's that. I think I showed this last time. I have these buttons. They may end up going on here, but I think I need a bright poppy red button so I don't have anything visually distracting. I usually like really high contrast buttons on my garments. I think it's like just a fun way to kind of accessorize, but I think the color of this it should remain the focus. So I'm worried about putting a button on that will, you know, subtract from that a little bit. So, but I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. All right, another pretty epic project, if I do say so myself. It's in my Enoch bag. This is by Tiny Human Knits, Laura. And there is a very appropriate project inside this bag. And of course, I have not touched it in weeks. I don't think I've worked on this since before SAF. I kind of just couldn't with everything going on. But I did make some good progress, and I'm excited to return to this, but it's definitely gonna take me all year, I think, to work on this. This is the Over the Garden Wall scarf. I swear, it's like all the names are just escaping me. I love this designer. I love everything she makes. I'll put her on screen and link it below. But it's my Over the Garden Wall scarf. So you can see little Greg, he's coming up beautifully. We've got Wirt over here. We've got his little boots and his legs and his little coat. So his head is gonna be here, of course. I'm finishing out the teapot on Greg's head, and then the little frog, Mr. President, will be there as well. We've got the beautiful trees that are gonna go all the way up the sides. And this takes you through all of the episodes of Over the Garden Wall. So it's absolutely stunning. It's completely double knitted, so it's totally reversible. I think I'll probably wear it like this. I like the darker contrast for the color work, but we'll see when it's done. So yeah, isn't that so fun? And this is like 8 hours of knitting, I think. It's crazy. I'm sure I'll get faster like the longer I do it and the more I become familiar. This is my first time doing double knitted color work like this, but it's taking forever. I do have a little I do have a little wart. I have a little wart stitch marker. This is from my friend Lindsay of Simply Serving. And then I have over here a little pumpkin. This is from Tilting Planet, and it's like a whittled pumpkin. So I thought those were really cute here. I had them on the ends to remind me where to, I think, wrap the yarn. I think that's why I have them there. To avoid gaps or like separating in the fabric. And my two yarns, this is my Caramel Latte colorway on my non-superwash fingering base. So it's a lighter color than on the superwash base. And then this is Cricket by Kilbourne Woolens. It's a yarn that I carry here in my shop. It's got all those beautiful little neps and pops of color in there. Yeah, I really agonized over picking my color combination for this scarf because I knew that it was going to take a while to knit, and it was just, I don't know, it just really mattered to me like how it came across. But then when I came up with this combination, I just realized it was perfect. So that's what I'm doing. And this is on a US 1. So yes, a very lovely long-term project. So fun to work on. That's that one. Now I'll show you a little one. This is a little scarflet. This is the Bubble Bandana, I think, by Stephen West. And one of the regulars at my shop, she's lovely, but I actually saw, she actually used my yarns to make this exact project, and I've been waiting until I had time to copy her. So this is my favorites colorway collection. These are all my hand-dyed yarns. And this is a colorway set that I frequently dye and sell together on a variety of bases. This is my sock yarn base, and these are like the little minis. So it's 5 colors, and I'm using them to make this gorgeous little bubble scarf. And this will be really fun with my Jethro cardigan. Very similar kind of color palette, so I can really wrap myself up in all these colors. It uses my wood-fired clay. The light might blow this out a little bit, but the colors are Caramel Latte, Dried Poppies, wood-fired clay, Ara, and Mariner's Tail. And I just love these together, and especially in this sequence. So I haven't touched this one in a couple weeks either. It's like I did all of this in like 3 days, and then I had the Alabama Fiber Festival, and then I have to follow the chart with this one. It sounds silly, but just for starting each row to remember where to do the first little dip stitch for the bubbles. I keep having to like follow the chart, so I can't just like pick this up and work on it. But I think I'm like a third of the way done. So I just need to finish it. I really, really love it though. I've recommended this pattern to several customers now, and a couple of them have made it, and their versions are so cute. So yeah, and that's in my little Poisonous Plants bag. Here's something I started 2 days ago. I was going to the movies with one of my best friends, and I wanted some movie knitting, but the pair of socks that I'm knitting were not really at a good place to take to the movies. I usually just like to do the leg of the socks, and I was almost done with the leg on my second sock. So okay, for a second there I got worried I was recording in slow-mo. That would make me so sad. So I wanted to start a new kind of project, something a little different, not just socks. And I have been wanting for years to knit my husband a hat. Back when I was just crocheting, I made him several crocheted hats out of like red heart and stuff like that. And so yeah, those haven't lasted in his wardrobe, which is fine. But I've been wanting to knit him a hat, and he's very, very particular about his hats. He wants it to fit really tightly around the brim, but he likes very slouchy hats, and I've been avoiding making him one because I'm just afraid I won't be able to get it how he wants it. But I figured, why not just try? If he doesn't like it, either I will wear it or I'll find somebody who will, but I'm hoping he'll like it. I've been really wanting to make him a hat, and it's funny, I can make him perfectly fitting sweaters, but apparently like the hat is a big deal to me. I don't know. But this was a skein of yarn I had in my stash. It's called Nocturnal by Lamb Strings Yarn. It's been in my stash for years. It's one of the first hand-dyed yarns I ever bought, and I just never made myself anything with it. But it's like it's kind of like a blue shading. So it's like black and blue. Very pretty, and I think he'll really like it. We'll see. I was knitting it sitting next to him this morning and kind of trying to gauge it, like looking at his head, but it's kind of tough because in the beginning when you just have the ribbing, you know, it looks so cinched in, it's hard to tell, and I didn't have much, but when I finished the ribbing, I was like putting it on my head and like, oh no, I don't know if that's gonna fit on an adult head. This is the sock head slouch pattern, and I'm making the adult medium. I figured that'd probably be a good size for him. But I haven't tested my gauge. I was more so going off of vibes a little bit, but just because I know like what he needs and just kind of basing it again off of how it's fitting me and how it looks. But I used like a US 2.5, I think, for the ribbing. And now I'm using a US 3 for the stockinette portion. And now that I have a couple of inches of the stockinette, it's starting to seem much more reasonable. So again, we'll see. This is kind of an experiment. I hope that this recipe works for making him hats so I can make him more in the future. But I kind of just want to get through this and just get it over with. I wanted a quick project. It's really pretty, but it's not a very exciting color to work with. So I don't know. I just want to get it over with. And now that it's getting cold, he'll actually be able to wear it. So yeah. I did do the little trick where I pretty much always do this with my ribbing, where like this was the right side. This was what I was viewing as I was knitting it. And my wrong side ribbing always looks much neater. I think it's because my purl stitches are a lot tighter than my knit stitches. My knit stitches tend to be on the loose side. Anyway, I think it's because my purl stitches are tighter than my knit stitches if I had to guess. And so what I do is once I finish the ribbing on a project, I will do a little short row at the beginning of the round, like a double stitch, and I will turn it inside out, and then I'll just start working my stockinette, and you know, just finish off that. You just knit that double stitch together like it's one stitch, the two little legs, and then that kind of just turns your knitting around so you can make the quote-unquote wrong side your right side. So again, I tend to do that if I'm knitting like, I think I did it with this even, maybe. Yeah, just kind of any kind of ribbing. I know a lot of people do it with 1x1 ribbing, and that's where my ribbing looks the least neat. But even my 2x2 ribbing sometimes, especially like fingering weight yarn, it's not that it looks bad, but it just looks so much better on the opposite side. So I just always do that. But like even up here, I'm looking at my fabric and it's looking so loose, which for the stockinette, my knit stitches are just loose. I don't know. It's also that this is a fingering weight yarn and these are a US 3 needle, but again, I want it to be nice and slouchy so that he'll actually wear it. So yeah, that's my little hat. Okay, next project. I'll show these quickly because it's just socks, but they're really pretty socks. When I was vending at SAF, my neighbor was Trisha of Yarn Jam, and all weekend we were just kind of hanging out and talking to each other through the little like slats between our booths. And it was fun, but she showed me one morning that she had run over to the other building and she found this dyer, Hingston Handmade, and it was self-striping sock yarn. And I was like, ooh, okay, if I have time one of these mornings before the show starts, I'm gonna run over there and I'm gonna grab some. And so I did on, I think it was Sunday morning, so like the not as busy day. My husband got there early with me that day as well, so I tend to vend by myself except for the days that we're breaking down, because then my husband comes so he can help me. And my booth is always like pretty busy, so it's hard to get away to buy stuff. So that morning it was nice to get there, and so we were just walking around, and I saw her booth, but she wasn't there. So again, it was still before the show started. And so I figured, well, maybe I'll see something, and if my husband feels like it, I can send him on an errand later to grab it for me. But she happened to show up before we left the building, like as I was looking at her booth from the outside. And she was like, feel free to come in if you want. And I was like, okay. And so I came in and I bought this gorgeous yarn. I could not help myself. I had to get the sparkly base. She had several colorways and I was tempted to buy multiple, but I controlled myself and I just got one. And it was two 50-gram skeins, and it's called Matchy Matchy Shiny Sock. These are 80% superwash merino, 20% stellina, and they're each 200 yards. And so the idea is that these are two perfectly matched skeins, but I'm able to knit, oh, and I did use my own stash yarn for my contrast to do the heel because I didn't want to break up the stripe. And this is like the exact matching kind of reddy purple color. So I did use that for my heel, but otherwise I'm really able to get a whole pair of socks out of a 50-gram skein if I'm using something for my contrast. So when I finished the first sock, rather than wind up the second skein, I just decided that I would just try it to see if I could get the second sock out of the same little ball. And I think I just might. We'll see. But I'm about to be finished with the leg. I just have to finish this stripe and then I think one more. Yeah, I just have to do the purpley and then the green and then do the heel. And then it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 stripes for the foot. And obviously there's decreases in there. And then the contrast toe. So I don't know if, I think this will probably work. Long story short, I think I'm gonna have an entire 50-gram skein of this yarn left over, which means that I will either give it to a friend or I will make another pair of socks for a loved one. I don't know, we'll see. But I just had to pull out when I was winding up the yarn, or like when I was preparing to cast on the second sock. In order to get this to match the first one, I had to pull out the yarn for the little caramel colored stripe. I'm gonna save this though in my bag, not get rid of it because it is a whole stripe. And so if I end up needing it, and if it saves me from doing winding up the second skein, I'll probably just use it. We'll see. So yeah, I'm almost done with the leg. I've got this cute little wintry mousy guy, also from Simply Serving. He's missing a little ear. He lost his ear pretty quickly. So he's a little one-eared mouse, but he's cute. But yeah, so there we go. Cute little socks. This bag is from Barley Pearls. Okay guys, my next work in progress is pretty epic if I do say so myself. And it's in the most amazing project bag. As you can see, it's very big. It's a very tall bag. My friend Jane of Rose and the Wren, so she was sewing these bags. She did like an update on them a while back, and then she was having a pre-order on them, and she asked if I wanted to do a little maker swap. So I sent her a sweater quantity of my California Poppy colorway. I think it was the non-superwash DK, and she's gonna make the Violetta cardigan, which is awesome. And she sent me this beautiful bag. It's a fish wearing a little sweater that says knit. And it's so cute, and it's huge, which is perfect for this project. So I am making an amazing project. It's just so fun. Look at how insanely cool this project is. This is the Camille dress by Joanna Garish. Knits by Colibri, I think is what she goes by. And the pattern just came out, and I think that the day it came out, I saw it on Hot Right Now, and I was like, okay, that's the one I'm gonna make. I've been wanting to make a dress for years. I'm gonna do this one. It's pretty amazing. Between the sparkly yarn and the reversible like front and back, I had to. Isn't this so amazing? It's so shiny. I can't wait to be a disco ball. Yep. And there's a new place that opened up in the city near me called Pink Lantern. I haven't been yet, but it looks gorgeous. It's like pink, mid-century modern, coffee shop by day, dance club, cocktail bar by night. So I want to go there and wear my fancy bronze dress, and it's gonna be so fun. So yeah, it's reversible. So you could do kind of like this little boat neck in the front, or you could wear the V-neck in the front. She has pictures of her modeling it both ways, and let me show you how far I am, because I actually have made a lot of progress. This is only about a week and a half of knitting. I have just been flying through this. The gauge is large. It's like 16 stitches per inch, or per 4 inches, I think. So it's a nice big gauge. It's also just really fun to work on. And I guess the top part was really fun because there was a lot of like shaping and different elements, and it was all worked flat. And then in the end, when you go to do the little crossover V part, you kind of rearrange your stitches, and then you knit it according to the pattern instructions. I don't want to give it away. It is a paid for pattern. But so then you have this little V that crosses over. So this little brief double layer of fabric there. And then there's this I-cord detail that kind of finishes off the bodice part, and it kind of provides a little bit of shaping to the bodice. So between where the bodice and the skirt starts. So there's that I-cord that goes all the way around. It's on the back as well. You can probably kind of see it. And so now I'm just on the skirt part. And so I've finished all my increases. There weren't very many. And now I'm just knitting in the round until it's long enough. So I did try this on when I first completed the bodice, but I didn't have any of the skirt part yet. So I haven't tried it on since. I'm thinking about putting it on waste yarn pretty soon and just trying it on before I finish the skirt completely to make sure that I like the way that it's fitting around my hips. But yeah, I need to go ahead and do that. It's also a long sleeve dress, so I have these stitches on hold, and I will be making the sleeves, of course, once I finish the skirt. And then you pick up around like the V and you do another I-cord. But really, I'm kind of almost done. It's really going quickly. So I need to try it on before I get too much farther and figure out if it works. And for yarn, okay, you guys, I'm not gonna lie. I think this cost more than my wedding dress. My wedding dress was $100. I bought it off the rack at David's Bridal. Obviously this was years ago. And my mother-in-law, she was very kind and she got it for me, but she also had a coupon. And so it was supposed to be like a $200 dress, and we got it for $100, which was pretty awesome. Yeah. I kind of laugh because this dress cost more than my wedding dress. So you're holding 2 strands of silk mohair with 1 strand of this insane yarn. This is actually a cotton yarn. So aside from the sequins, it's 100% cotton, but it has such a beautiful, like it just feels beautiful. These are all Lana Grossa yarns. This is their silk hair, and this is Cosmo. And so these are actually the same yarns that are called for in the pattern. There's a variety of yarns you could use, but I just really loved this color combination. And again, I knew it was gonna be a financial and time commitment, so I just went ahead and went with the yarns that she wrote the pattern in, just to avoid myself any headache of trying to make something else work. But yeah, you could easily adapt this pattern if you don't want the sequins. You're just looking for the gauge and a drape and a fabric that feels good. I will definitely have to wear a slip dress under it, which is fine. But yeah, so I bought all the recommended yarns, and I bought this color combination because there was a Ravelry project page where 1 or 2 of the knitters did this exact same thing. And as much as I love Joanna's sample, it's like pink with rainbow sequins. I thought that was so pretty, but I thought this would be a little bit more like elegant. So if when I finish it, I already told my husband he has to take me on a fancy date. I don't care where, it needs to be a fancy date. It doesn't have to cost money. He can make a fancy date at the house or something with, like, I don't know, but he's got to take me on a fancy date. That's the agreement here. I need somewhere fun to wear my fancy dress. So yeah, that's my very exciting project. It's just so sparkly. I was knitting this in the car. We took our daughter to Six Flags, and I was sitting in the back seat with her, and Jason was sitting in the front with one of our friends. And where I was sitting, the light was coming in just right, that as I was knitting this, the light was just bouncing all over the car, and it was so fun, and it just made me very excited for when this is done. So that'll probably be my next finished object, because again, it's knitting up quickly. So, and I would love to have an opportunity to wear it soon. So my next project is Crocheted, and the pattern comes from this beautiful new book from Anita Gibney. This is Patchwork Granny Square Blankets, And I've had my heart set on this book since she first announced it. I've been crocheting one of her quilt patterns for a while. I haven't put a lot of work into it, but I've made a couple of the blocks and it's so pretty. So when I saw this book coming out, I just knew that I needed to get it. So I'm making right here the kaleidoscope cushion. I figured because I already have one of her big quilts on the go, I should do something small, and I'm really excited about this. So yeah, it's just a gorgeous book. Lots of quilt, like crocheted quilt patterns. This one is amazing. So lots of stuff like that in this book. I've actually purchased 4 copies of this book because I've given 3 to friends who crochet that I thought would enjoy it. So I finished my front cover for my cushion. And the idea is that these are all supposed to be like half square triangles. They're crocheted half square triangles. And so I used the whole rainbow of yarns here. Of course, my favorite portion is the top with the pinks and the yellows and the orange. And then I love this one where you've got like sagey green next to the bright red. And then down here, I'm just like, yeah, that just kind of fills it out. But yeah, so I've made the front cover. I'm working away on the back part. This part, it's like, I just have to keep myself motivated because it's just one big granny square in white. It's fine. It's not, this really hasn't been a lot of time. It's just I don't want to do it because it's not fun. Whereas this, it was a lot of work because you are like seaming and you're stopping and starting because each of these squares is knitted or crocheted individually and then pieced together. So yeah, this was a lot of work, but this was more entertaining, and I got this done in just a few days because I was enjoying it so much. So, but my pillow insert, I will have that come Saturday evening. So my goal is just kind of to get this done by Saturday evening, and that should be fine. Yeah, I'll get this done. And then of course, you know, once the pillow insert comes, I'll seam these together over the pillow, and it's gonna be great and beautiful. And I'm also kind of laughing at myself because, so of course it's a homeware, right? Like you can make this as big or as small as you want to. I just decided to go ahead and use like a 4mm hook like she said. I'm using DK weight yarn like she did, and I made 36 squares like she did. But I measured mine yesterday and I didn't know how big hers came out in the pattern. Like I just didn't look at that. I just thought, well, I'll just make it, and like I know what size that I like, so I'll just work on it, right? So I made it completely the same way as she did in her sample, and I measured it, and mine is 10 inches bigger than her sample, which is crazy. That's, I know I'm a loose crocheter, but 10 inches, that's nuts. So I'm going to have a nice big 26-inch sized pillow. Yeah, so my big square, it's about 25 inches, but I got a pillow insert that's an inch bigger, so that way it can be pulled kind of taut over the pillow. So yeah, I'm just finishing the white granny square, and because mine's so much bigger, this is taking a lot more yarn than hers, I'm sure. The front one took basically exactly 100 grams of my white yarn. This is just my undyed superwash merino DK. It was like I got right down to the very end, but the last seamed 2 squares, I had to use just a little bit of the second skein. So yeah, this was like 100 grams of the white plus all the little minis, or yeah, just lots of rainbow colors. And then this one, I've almost finished. I feel like I've almost finished this, and I don't know if it's gonna finish it or if I'm going to need to open another skein, but yeah, so. I don't know why my gauge is so big. I think my gauge is coming out smaller on this. So I can just block this if I need to. But yes, there's that. Let's talk about another rainbow project. And this one is a stash busting project. And it's so fun. And again, it's just one of those things where like I've worked on it when I've had the time. I could have easily finished this had I just stuck with it, but I've been having a hard time focusing on one project recently. And I think it's because I've had so many events going on. The shop has been crazy busy. It's just been really hard to devote myself to like one thing recently in my making. And I think it's also because I've been on a big kick of like, again, high production for the shop, dyeing lots of yarn, but also I've done a lot of home renovations recently, like tons. And so my brain is just all over the place, but when I do make time, this is a really fun project to work on. Really hard project to show because it's in this big bin of all my scrap yarns. Let me see if I can get situated here. So this is the Aqua Marlene by Park Williams, and yeah, it's designed to be like a stash busting project. So the gauge is huge, and you're just holding lots of different strands of yarn together. It's so fun, but it's bottom up, and you start with the body, and so, or you could start with the sleeves if you wanted to, but I started with the body, and the idea is that you knit it to the length that she specifies. I've been very mindful about this pattern and considering like how my body shape and my proportions compared to hers, because, you know, and she even says in the pattern, I think that you should really take into account like the lengths of your arms and stuff, of course, but especially with this being bottom up, and she's designed it to be cropped, but I didn't want mine to be quite as cropped. But it's kind of unusual compared to trying to fit other sweaters, because as you can see, the circumference of the sleeve is like half of the circumference of the body. So they're huge. And so you kind of have to be really, really mindful about where you're putting everything together, because it's also a really deep, like raglan. So there's lots of extra room according to the photos that I'm seeing, at least. So yeah, I'm hoping that this all works out. We'll see. This is kind of just a big experiment. But as you can see, I got to a stopping point in the body. I have to have both sleeves completed to be attached before I proceed. And so I got one sleeve completely done, and then I wanted to get it off of the needle, so I went ahead and did the joining round up to the point of where I would be joining the next sleeve. And I'm only this far on the second sleeve, so I need to work on this. And really, because of the stitch gauge, it knits up quickly, but working on this size needles is really difficult for me. Anything this big. My dress is also on this. It's like a US 10 or 10.5, 6.5 millimeter. My hands really struggle with knitting with really big needles, so I'm trying not to fly through it for the sake of not injuring myself. I've dealt with some soreness in my hands, and I think it's been from knitting on these big projects, big gauge projects. But yeah, so that one's like, I'm not in a huge hurry to get this done, but it will be really thick, so I will want to get this done when it's cold out. But yeah, we'll see. It's looking pretty silly, but that's okay. It's fun, and it's really just fun to put all the colors together and to use up a lot of scraps. I'm excited to weigh the whole project in the end and just see, you know, how much yarn I used up. And I have another knitted whip. And this one I'm having a bit of a dilemma with. And I don't know, I'm a little sad, but I kind of expected this. So I'm trying to figure out how to proceed. So as you guys know, or as you perhaps know, I've been knitting the Sweet Shop blanket since last December. I got the Goosey Fibers like countdown mystery box, and it was Winnie the Pooh themed, very beautiful. And at this point, you know, obviously that was a year ago, I've opened all the colors, and I've actually knitted all of the colors. So I have all of the original like 24 squares for all the mini skeins, except for this one. I accidentally got mixed up and knitted one of my scraps instead of the mini skein. I felt silly, but it worked, so it's fine. And I was planning on adding it to the blanket anyway. So I've done all of the original colors, and it's a beautiful, like very soft, subtle pastel rainbow kind of thing. But the problem that I've encountered, and what I was worried about, is from the beginning, my intention was to go back through and do a second square of all of the colors. And so when I first started this project, I actually modified the pattern ever so slightly so that my squares would have a few, like 2 fewer rows per square, I think is what it was, or ultimately 4 fewer rows, 2 per color. And so my idea was that I wanted to save the yarn since I'm working from 20-gram minis. And I had read, you know, that some people, depending on your gauge, you might end up using more than half of your mini skein for each color. So I was trying to preserve. But those mini skeins, and I know this well because I'm a dyer, sometimes they have a little bit extra, sometimes they have a little bit less. So it's really hard to know, you know, exactly. They're not all completely identical usually. And so the problem I've run into is I've gone to knit, I think, my first square with the leftover skein, because these squares, This was that original 24th color that I failed to use, and so I did it here. And then this was more of that other mini skein that I did up there in place of this one. And so this third new square is the first of my repeated mini skeins. I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. And as you can see, I ran out. So I was still like 4 rows short of the color. And I was like, no, what do I do? I don't want to just rip it out. And I really wanted to use these yarns. And so I looked at the other colors and I thought, well, this one looked kind of similar. I'll just finish it off. And it obviously does not look similar. So I did that when it was kind of dark, but in the natural light, I can see it's too different. That's gonna bother me. So I'm gonna have to rip that out. My options are to either like go back and try to redo it and just tighten up my gauge, but I don't think I'll be able to tighten my gauge up enough to get 4 more rows out of it, or to just not use that at all. And so I'm trying to figure out how to proceed. What I might do is bring all of the little minis to my shop where I have my scale and weigh each of them. And if there's any that has less than half, I don't know. If there's any that seem much lighter than the others, I'll just go ahead and take those out of the rotation there. And if there are any that seem like there's enough, I'll go ahead and try to add those in. I was really hoping I could double the entire size of this blanket, but that might not be possible. I don't know. It's really small if I don't. It's just like a lap blanket, and I really wanted it to be bigger. The other thing would be I could just use lots of mini skeins and scraps like just forever. I was kind of hoping to just accomplish this, like get it done. But I don't want to finish it when it's too small. So at the very least, I have to rip out this knitting, which is unfortunate, and then just figure something out. But I actually have lots of her minis from other stuff that she's done. So it could just be that I just stick with her minis and just work from those and add those in, and then use the leftovers from all the minis later on to maybe do like something else. I don't know. But I really like the vibe that she captured here. She got all these colors that are like gorgeous and very different from one another, but they're still pastel, or like kind of on the lighter end. So I don't want to have anything that's too much of a departure from the overall design. So I don't know. This one's taking me a while to work on. I knew it would because it's a blanket, but again, I was really kind of hoping to wrap this up this year. But now I just don't think I will, unless I decide to just finish out this last row and then call it a day. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, trying to think if I have any other works in progress to share right now. I kind of hope not. This video is, whoever knows how long. Okay, the last whip I'll show you, this is a quilt project. This one is going to take a long time because it's these tiny little 2-inch squares. But I'm making a postage stamp quilt, and I've finished all of the blocks for like the block A kind of section. And now what I'm doing is I'm having to go and basically sew mirror images of these blocks. And that is not to say that any of these little like contrast ones, I'm not mirror imaging those, but the white and red where these are lined up, that part is reversed. And then you do the little contrasts in the other direction because this is sort of the other half of this motif. And I do have, I think there's like 8 of these, and I was working on the mirror image ones in October, but a piece in my sewing machine broke and I just repaired it 2 days ago. So now I can sew again. I didn't prioritize fixing that because of all the stuff I had going on, but now I've just finished my sewing machine so I can get back to working on this. And December I think will be really quiet compared to these last few months, so hopefully I'll make a lot of good progress. Because ultimately I have everything cut out. It's just sewing each of these blocks is time consuming. I've been chain piecing, so it's almost like sewing the blocks really isn't too much work, but then you also have to make sure that you're pressing in all of the directions according to the pattern so that all the seams will nest in the end. And I think that's the part that's been like slowing me down, is making sure that I'm pressing everything the correct way in orientation according to the pattern. And that's really important to me because I do want this to all line up and fit together beautifully, because it is a big time investment. This is, if you've ever done one of these, and everybody who's a quilter who I've mentioned this design to, that it's a postage stamp quilt, they're just like, yeah, I did one of those once 20 years ago. Never again. It's beautiful, but it's a lot of work. So yeah, I'm glad I'm making it, and it is gorgeous. It's all Heather Ross fabrics. It was a quilt kit that they put out, and I just had to have it, and I'm yeah, I love it so much. I can't wait for it to be done. All of the little, the fabrics that she included, they're just gorgeous. So yeah, I need to make some good progress on that. There's a local long armor that I plan on sending it to, which is exciting. And one other thing, lo and behold, Stitchery, they are doing a block of the month, like 8-month long quilt club in 2026. Starts in February, and I signed up and I got the fabric, just the front fabric, not the backing and the binding, because it was quite expensive to do the whole thing. But it's going to be like the most stunning quilt, and I just had to go ahead and do that. So I would like to get this one done by the time that one starts in February. That's the plan. And okay, let me just show you a couple things that I've gotten over the past few months. First of all, my friend Kim of Oakwood Knits, I'm sure you saw my video and you've probably seen from her. She had all of her Stardew Valley sock patterns published into the most gorgeous book. And as of right now, I don't know what her plans are, but as of right now, I'm the only shop. My shop is the only shop where you can buy them other than directly from her. I just got a huge shipment from her, so those will be on my website by the time this video goes up, because we completely sold out in like 1 week last time. And so I've gotten several more copies, and I will go ahead and add those to my website and have them in my shop. So that's been exciting. But she also sent me as a gift, and I told this story before, but she sent me from her Studio Ghibli colorway collection. This is the Spirited Away color. And what's funny is she had dyed this for me and sent this to me as a gift. And of course I didn't know that. So I also ordered the exact same thing, like the sock kit from her. And she was very sweet because I told her, I told her thank you and like how grateful I was and how sweet it was, but she could just consider this my order. And she was very sweet. And she was like, nope, that was supposed to be a gift. And so she's also just sent me my other one. So now, I forgot to bring it with me, but now I have 200 grams of the main color, and it's so, so lovely. She does variegation so well. And then I have 2 of the minis. So I'm going to make some kind of top. I think I have the pattern. I don't remember what it's called, but I think I've picked out the pattern. It's gonna be a top, and this will be the color work. And this will be the main, because now I have more than enough yarn, I think, for making it. So yay, I'm so excited. So yeah, I'll be working on that. And for spinning, I have been spinning. I finished this bobbin a couple of months ago now, but this was some Wee Chickadee Falkland. Come on. And the colorway is called Moonbeam. Normally I do 2-ply fractal spins, but for this go around, because I have 4 braids of this and I'm working on making my contrast yarn for another pressed flowers kind of pattern, I'm just kind of doing this end to end. Like I'm splitting it into 4 sections and then doing it end to end, and then I'll apply all of them together because it's gonna be this beautiful like pastel rainbowy kind of thing anyway. So this was 1 bobbin. This is a full braid of that Falkland. It's probably like 4 ounces. And then last night I got started on the 2nd braid, and so I'm a quarter of the way done with that. And so that's like my big spinning project. I do also have this little guy. So every time I apply my bobbins, I always end up having a little bit left over on bobbins. And then what I do is I just save bobbins, I save leftovers, and I'll just mix and match. Come on. I'll mix and match random little leftovers together. I don't know why it doesn't want to focus on this. So I did this last night to free up 2 of my bobbins. And yeah, I just plied together 2 little random ones. So I'm making a bunch of little mini skeins out of all of my little leftovers. And eventually when I have enough mini skeins, I'll do something with the project with all my little hand spun minis. That's my spinning project. So I wanted to show that real quick before I show you my fiber that I've purchased recently. At SAF, again, Yarn Jam was my neighbor, and I did bring home a bunch of her stuff for wholesale, and I've sold most of it, but I do still have some of it in my website. I don't think it's all on my website, but it's here in my shop. I need to add that to the website. But I got these for myself. So I got 1 of these, and this is her confetti tweed base. It's 89% natural Shanico, which is Merino Ravelry crossbreed, and 6% acrylic, 5% rayon neps. So beautiful. This is January Skies, so it's like peachy tangerine with periwinkle, and then the little confetti neps are multicolored. So, so pretty, and I am very excited to work with these. But then I got 2 of her dried flowers colors, so same base, but this just speaks to my soul. I love green and red and orange together like this. It just makes me so, so happy. So yeah, that's kind of what kicked me into gear with working on my moonbeam spinning project, because I really love spinning this, and this is such a dream. Falkland is such a dream to spin. It's so wonderful, but I really want to get these done because I really, 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 really want to spin these. And Trisha is so lovely, by the way. Yeah, I love hanging out with her. It was awesome. And then this, I got this at Fiber Frenzy in September. I guess that's how long it's been since I shared a podcast. I don't think I've shared this yet, have I? Maybe I did in my last podcast. I don't know, but if I did, you can see it again. This is a custom bat that I had blended for me from the Fold Out Cat. And I just picked all of the purples and greens and pinks and oranges, and I had them make this bat with a tiny bit of stellina, gold stellina in it. And so I doubled up on the pink, and then I got lots of little pops of other colors. You can kind of probably see them more down here, but of course it's in the plastic. So yeah, I have this beautiful custom bat to work with. It's so soft. I've just been enjoying looking at it. Yeah, I would love to work on this sooner rather than later, right? Okay, and with that, I think I have shared all of the things that I wanted to share as of right now. I do have a million plans, as always. I guess I will say, as far as like the shop goes, I don't have any fiber festivals coming up again until April for Nash Yarn Fest. So I know I'll see some of you there, and that's really exciting. But I do have my store anniversary party. I believe it's the last Saturday of January, and I think that's the 31st. So I will have a party here at the shop to celebrate our 4th anniversary of the brick and mortar. And I will have a guest dyer, and I'm gonna try to get some other people to come and do some fun stuff. So that'll be like the next event. Small Business Saturday is this Saturday, but because of all of the events we just finished, I just haven't had a lot of time to plan for it. So I'm hoping it'll be a fun, great day. I've gotten lots of new stuff in the shop, but I don't even know if this video will go up before then. So yeah, that's the next thing. And then I will be at SAF again next year, and Alabama Fiber Festival. So, which by the way, Alabama Fiber Festival this year was so, so amazing. And thank you so much to all who came. Paper Crane Yarns broke records of all kinds. Like for our personal records, every bar that I've ever set, every goal I've ever set, we just far surpassed it, and it was amazing. So thank you guys so much. I was like, I don't know, just glowing from that. It's just been wonderful. So I'm finishing up some pre-orders for that show colorway right now. I'm almost done with all of those. And then I do still plan to open some custom sweater quantity pre-orders. I was aiming for November, but since I'm finishing up this pre-order, it'll probably be middle of December that I do that. So keep an eye out for that if you're interested in some custom sweater quantities. So I am cleaning up from recording, and I just remembered one thing I forgot to tell you guys. For reading, I'm on the last book of Throne of Glass, the Throne of Glass series, so Kingdom of Ash, and it's so good. But let me just say, Tower of Dawn was like my favorite book ever. I don't know what it was, but I loved that book so, so, so much that I was like wishing that that was a whole little standalone series. You know, if you've read that series, it's like a bit of it's the same story and it's all the same characters. Well, there's new ones, but anyway, it's a bit of a departure from the main storyline, but I need more books in that little branch of the story. It was so good. So yeah, I'm on Kingdom of Ash, and I am only like a quarter of the way in, so I still have plenty of stuff. So don't put any spoilers in the comments. I will be very upset. But I love it. I'm loving it so much. I know that a lot of you love that series. I've mentioned it before. So yeah, just wanted to throw in my little reading update because I'm like enjoying it so much. Okay, that's it. Back to other me. With all of that, I'm gonna go ahead and say bye. I'm gonna go hang out with my family and hopefully do some crafting today. And I have to clean up all this mess. So, but I hope you all are well, and until next time, see you later. Bye-bye.